Happy Monday. Welcome back to Inside the Lines, and Merry Christmas to our Inside the Lines family. Appreciate everyone who's been here and who's showing up on this big day. We'll get you in and out quickly. Just a few props and some questions, of course, we want to answer for you guys. So we got a lot to go through. We're going to start in the NFL, a few games we have. Bring in the stars of the show. Guys, how's the Christmas going so far?
I managed to set up a PS5 without any real hiccups.
Okay.
So that's not as good as nothing says God bless the birth of Jesus like that.
Right. Jake, just another day in the life.
Cinnamon rolls for Christmas.
Yeah.
My girlfriend's sister's house, so that was nice.
Yeah, how's your Monday? This is just Monday to you, Jake.
I used to go to my
Moose is happy.
My parents are here, but I used to go celebrate Christmas at my cousin's house with some ham and some nice kosher ham.
There you go. All right. Well, let's get into it. We're going to start with the NFL props. Well, yeah, we'll let Steven take the show for now. All right. Let's start with, we have a 1:00 game coming up. So if you have any questions for that, let's get those in quick. Let's start with Justin Watson here, over 1.5 receptions. One of those sneaky bets again that we might be sweating out, but I still like them.
Yeah, you get plus money. At least you could when I put the pick in. There's no Kadarius Toney or Jerick McKinnon. So, obviously those two aren't getting a ton of catches and targets this year as opposed to last season. But Mahomes' pass completion line is 25.5. So even if Watson clocks in at his 7% of team receptions like he's had for the last 30 plus games, he'd still be over 1.5 receptions. The Raiders defense, I think, will be focused in for obvious reasons on Kelsey and Rashee Rice because they're the only two reliable targets. So I can't imagine Watson not getting at least 2 or 3 targets. Now the problem is he hasn't had more than 1 reception in a month, so he is due.
Love that logic.
Classic logic, yes, infallible.
That is our data science team, ladies and gentlemen. He is due. Derek letting us know a little bit about the weather here. A chance of snow and rain before the game. It seems like it's going to die down by game time, but still good to know here. Let's get a question. We have a question on Isaiah Pacheco. His line is 21.5 for his receiving yards. If we got any value over there.
Let's see. He had been catching a lot before his injury, so we only have him for 17 yards because Clyde Edwards-Helaire kind of reestablished himself as a viable NFL player.
Edwards-Helaire had that nice catch in the back of the end zone.
Especially so. I chalked Edwards-Helaire's role as the Kadarius Toney role. Not Kadarius Toney, the Jerick McKinnon role.
It's not the Kadarius Toney where you line up both sides and the ball every time.
So I didn't have Pacheco getting his the type of receptions that he was getting before his injury.
Mm-hmm. What about Scantling over here? Yard line is 16.5.
We always have him over because we expect him to have at least 1 catch, and he usually averages around 19, 20 yards per reception. And he has hit over that number the last 3 weeks. Of course, it's -1, I believe, is one I had. I know wrong, but so we like him. Again, there's only one reliable wide receiver right now, and he's got to establish some chemistry with the other two.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Going back to Watson, I know his reception line's getting a little juicy, but his yard line is 19.5. Where do we have him for that? Yeah,
we have him way over his yards, but I was scared off by his yards prop because the last couple of times I've taken a person based on using his yards per reception, I seem to have gotten burned. And I'm thinking that maybe even though Watson is a tall speed receiver and a deep threat, I'm wondering if they're going to try something different with him, with Toney out, see if he can play a different role, use his advantage. Maybe he has some after the catch ability. So I thought maybe they try him for some shorter passes to scheme him differently because it hasn't been going well. Just chucking it 20 yards in the air to him.
Mm-hmm. I'm personally hoping for a big Travis Kelce game to take me to the CBS Fantasy Finals. I mean, that would be pretty epic.
I think Travis is due for a touchdown. I was saying how he's the last leg of my 3 touchdown score parlay.
Right.
So it would be nice if he does hit it today.
This has to be one of his longest stretches without a touchdown.
Exactly. Yeah, and is Taylor going to be there? It's Christmas. She should be there. So if
that would mean they're really serious if she's there on Christmas.
I know.
Supposed to be in Philly. All right, let's move on. I know we don't have any official plays for the Giants Philly game. I just want to touch on it quick. Was there anything either of you were looking at in general, maybe you weren't in love with, but some angles you were thinking about?
I just noticed the steam is on Philly. It was holding on around 11, 12 most of the week. And then this morning it's under 13 and a half and 14. So that was a little surprising. I think, again, this is the Phillies due for a good game, but because there's not a lot
one can
performance-wise that would indicate that.
Mm-hmm. All right, good stuff there. Let's move over to your Ravens playing the Niners. Big Christmas sweat today, but hopefully things work out for you because that makes the rest of our lives easier. All right, let's go over to Gus Edwards. We have a lot on him today. No Keaton Mitchell. We think this line's a little low given the circumstances.
Yeah, so the 8 games that he played before Keaton Mitchell burst on the scene, and then the second half of last week where he had to take over after Keaton got hurt, Gus Edwards averages were 13 and a half carries for, I want to say, right around 50 yards. And that's what we're projecting at. So all we're doing is projecting him to go back to the role that he had before. The good thing about San Francisco, as good as they are and as stacked as they are, they're going to be out without both their starting defensive tackles. Armstead is out and Hargrave is questionable, serious enough to be questionable that he was, a true questionable heading into the game. So the Arizona a few weeks ago ran right up the middle against them. So I think that's the only chance we have. Our tackles are terrible right now. They're not going to stand up to a pass rush, but our Linderbaum, our center, and our guards are really good. So I think that the only way we can keep San Francisco off the field and keep our defense fresh is by running the ball on the inside with Gus.
Mm-hmm.
Did you signed Melvin Gordon, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's been on back and forth on our practice squad, but he's just an emergency guy. Justice Hill is going to probably get more snaps than Gus because he's actually our best pass protecting and receiving running back.
Justice Hill's been getting a lot of snaps even when Keaton Mitchell was healthy.
Yeah, because it's pass protection. But I think that Gus will be the featured guy for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, and I'll just point out here that you also like the value on Gus Edwards over 10.5 rush attempts as well. Trying to see where we have him there.
13. So we have him just basically right around this average that he was clocking in most of September and October, and then even last week.
Okay. Good stuff there. Let's move to our other Ravens prop here with Zay Flowers over 4.5 receptions.
Yeah, we got plus money on 4.5. Because last week he didn't do anything. He had 1 catch. But the Ravens have been doing something interesting where we really are sort of experimenting week to week and putting very different things on tape. So 2 weeks ago against the Rams, there's all these deep shots and a ton of looks to wide receivers. Then this past week, almost nothing. And I don't know how much that had to do with Jacksonville scheming against the deep pass and opening up things for tight ends and running the ball. But I think it's almost an intentional thing to kind of work on different things in different situations. I also think that there's something about teams within the division that sort of morph into each other in a way to compete with each other. And against the NFC West teams that we played this year, besides the Seattle game, which was just a blowout, so we were up so big early that we just run the ball. There's a lot of targets to Zay in Arizona, 7 targets. He had 5 catches for only 19 yards. And then against the Rams, he had 10 targets for 60 yards. So what you saw was a lot of short passes to Zay Flowers. Again, we had this pass rush that's going to give Lamar no time. The only time Lamar's going to get is manufactured by his own legs. And I think I see a lot of scramble drill, either short, quick passes to Zay or scramble drill to Zay to get him back in the groove.
Sounds like you know a thing or two about this team, it seems.
Or care. I did get a new Christmas present.
There we go.
I got this in socks. It's actually all I wanted. So, there you go.
Simple man. All right, let's talk about Justice Hill real quick, because this is a good question where we see him falling in this whole running back situation.
Yeah, we have projected for right around 7.5, 7 or 8 runs, and he's been pretty productive per carry. So we love his over prop if you can get it at under 20. Love that prop. His problem this year has only been his fumbles. Two types of fumbles. He's had mesh point handoff problems with Lamar. He likes to grab it while Lamar likes to pull it. And they swore they worked on that like crazy. And then he had problems after running for 20 yards. He holds the ball out trying to score a touchdown instead of tucking it. And he's lost a couple fumbles that way. So as long as he doesn't do that, which I think he's learned from his lessons, I think he's going to have at least one good long run.
You can get him at 17.5 rushing yards across the book, which is actually pretty good value. I see a question about Lamar carries. We only have him projected for 9.7, but plus money, maybe 10.5 could be worth the play.
Yeah.
All right. all I see a question. We do have a recap at the end, but if you have other NFL questions, feel free to throw them out there. Let's move to some bowl games real quick with Jake before we head into today's NBA slate. Let's go to Rice. What do we got going on here?
Yeah, hopefully these players I picked actually play.
It's been
Because
tough.
Hampton Evans, I know it's you never know with these bowl games because you learn 30 minutes before that, oh, this guy's not even dressed to play. But the good thing is it doesn't even count as a loss. So still, we're 4-2 on bowl props after going 1-1 the other day. So
snaps.
I don't have the database open for college football.
I think we might have lost Jake.
Uh-oh. So what's his pick here?
See, the issue is I know nothing about these teams to even help him throw this.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't prepared either. So he likes over 1.5.
All right, let me kick him out and see if I can get him back in.
Yeah, ironic that the one who doesn't celebrate Christmas is the one with the bad Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
What's the deal? All right, let's look at some kicker props. That's a good question, Scott. Let's go back to the NFL quick while we wait for Jake to come back.
All right.
I'm sure we've had some thoughts on this. Another question about, do we see this Niners-Ravens game as a Super Bowl preview? And we do. I think the model has those two in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, well, any team that's in the pole position to get the 1 seed is going to have a huge advantage, because even if you're a heavy favorite in your first wild card round, in football it's rare to be more than, say, even a 67% favorite against any other playoff team. So if you got a 100% chance of winning that game, it's going to boost your overall percentages by call it 30% conservatively. So right now the Ravens are still in that spot. I do, the model and I think there's plenty of reasons to back San Francisco, but I have this sneaky feeling that we're going to do a lot better than people expect, because we tackle really well, especially Kyle Hamilton. The guy is a machine. He's gigantic for smaller players, so he can truck people, but then he gets really low and has these oddly long arms, so he can trip a lot of players up at the goal line. So given how dependent the San Francisco 49ers offense is on 0-yard passes that are taken for 15 yards after, if you can tackle them at the point of the catch, then it really limits their offense. So I think with Hamilton and Queen especially, they've been good at stopping people at the catch. That
is important. Let's go back to the Chiefs game really quick before we hit kickoff. A question about Rice and his receptions. Line's at 6.5 for his receptions.
We only have projected for 5.7. That feels low to me. I think that
yards look pretty good.
Yeah, I think he'll exceed this. I don't see how he doesn't get over that. I think it's partly because the Raiders defense statistically has been playing better. There's Chargers versus Easton Stick, Minnesota, that bizarre 3-0 game. They held Miami to 20. The Jets and the Giants combined for 18. So they're on a really strong run that would give any statistical model the sense that they're playing really good defense. But I don't think that will hold in this case.
Okay. Let's move, since we're hitting a little bit halfway mark here. Let's move over to the NBA while Jake tries to figure out his internet. A couple great games today and a couple great props we have as well. Let's head over to the Celtics. Where are the Celtics headed today?
Yeah, Celtics are in Boston.
Playing the Lakers.
Yeah, so I think I'm fading Jason Tatum. I think you can get it under 42.5 now. I mean, the number's gone up. Let's see. The Lakers play much better defense at home when they're motivated, right? So in season tournament or at home, they seem to play night and day. They allow 106 at home. Boston, I'm expecting Porzingis to play. I just read right before the show that he's optimistic that he'll be in the lineup. So Boston's so loaded with talent and scorers that, Tatum's field goal attempts and free throw attempts are both down nearly 2 a game from last season. He's not playing poorly. He's just sharing the ball. And they're playing a lot of blowouts where he hasn't had to play extended minutes against some of the favorable matchups. He's got 7 straight games under this number, 10 of his last 12. He's averaging around 37.5. Points, rebounds, and assists. And Boston's won, 9 of the last 11. So they're winning well with a nice balanced offense. It's not like years past where if Tatum's cold, he's going to keep the shooting to get himself out of a slump. He'll just pass it to the 3 or 4 other players that could fill it up.
Right. This team does terrify me to bet on. I guess when I say that, I think of overs. So maybe unders is probably the better approach for this team. It just has so much and only so much ball to go around for everybody.
The good thing is, I think if Boston blows them out, if Boston's offense is really lighting up and the Lakers can't keep up, maybe it'll be sitting.
Mm-hmm.
And get lucky.
Yeah, there you go. Let's head over to the Pacers going to the Rockets. KCP prop here.
The Nuggets, I think we're confused.
Oh,
Denver. Yeah. You got Denver versus Golden State.
Yes.
So KCP is he's had 2 really poor games in a row, and I think that's kind of lowered his number. But he averages 15.8 at home points, rebounds, and assists, and the over going back to last year is 45 and 15. I'm going to use the super scientific method of he's due.
Well, I like it because you can buy low. Like they move the line down and then you get them before.
Yeah, he's scored 9, 10, 3, and 3 his last 4 games. The last 2 games he's combined 1 for 9. So yeah, he is due, and he's shooting 51% on 3-point shots at home, just 36% on the road. They're pretty well rested for the days off, a couple of days off. And yeah, I think that 12.5, when you consider this is an average game for him. Golden State is an average defense. Denver's at home. I think he's going to put up some plenty of stats.
I like.
What do you think about Kuminga in this game? I was looking at Kuminga over 12.5 points. We have him at 13.6. He's been pretty hot lately.
He's been getting 28, 30 minutes. Yeah, he's exceeded 30 minutes twice and double-digit shot attempts since 2 out of 3 games since suspension.
Trey Murphy plays today. Can we get in that game real quick? And I also want to look into Austin Reeves. But I think I've already used Austin Reeves twice for my 25 days of bets, but Trey Murphy definitely deserves a comeback.
No, New Orleans doesn't play today.
Yeah, New Orleans plays tomorrow.
I'm looking at the okay.
I was actually looking into that if they played it. Yeah. He has a very good matchup tomorrow against Memphis.
So Reeves, they said he did something different with the line. I mean, he's played the same number of minutes, but they sat Russell right in that OKC game. And D'Angelo Russell only played 17 minutes. He scored 15 points, but only played 17 minutes. So hopefully that bodes well with Reeves to get back
Reeves
to over 30.
14.5, but if I was going to play Reeves, I'd probably play his points, rebounds, and assists because he's been racking up assists when he's been in.
Yeah. They keep his line at 13.5, 14.5, like no matter what, because he's a little bench player now, but it's bench player.
Because he either gets 15 shots or 8 shots. You don't know.
Yeah.
That's true.
Maybe he's a good player to live bet if you look at how he's going. And depending on how many shots he gets up when he plays in the first quarter, and if he's looking like he's going to be aggressive, that's when you go play his points over live.
That takes too much energy to live bet a player prop.
I find that it's profitable though if you get it at the right time.
But you got to add in your head, and then you got to strap.
Any European games on today, Jake?
No European games today. Yesterday there were some Australian NBL games.
Obviously,
I went 1 for 2. So,
Sorry.
I'm on Emmanuel quickly over 11.5 points. I wish we had the show before the game started because that's looking good right now.
He isn't lying, guys. I promise he really did say this before it was looking good.
There is something called Twitter. We recently renamed X, Jacob, that you could put these things out.
I know. I should have put it on there.
I know you're just. Let me teach you a little something about social media and how.
Exactly. I need a social media lesson.
All right, let's move over. Let's try this again. Going back to your bowl game props here. Bowl game tomorrow. Rice is playing Texas State.
Yeah. So if you look at Texas State's game log, they gave up 77 points 2 weeks ago. They gave up I think like 40 plus a game almost. So I like fading their defense, even with JT Daniels out for Rice. I think AJ Padgett's looked pretty good when he's been in there. And I bet on AJ Padgett over 1.5 touchdowns, which we have plenty of value in the model. I also bet on Luke McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey's little brother, over 74.5 receiving yards, even though I think we have him around 47 in the model, but I'm just like fading Texas State's defense here. I would fade both defenses here. Not so good defenses with they like to throw the ball a lot and move the ball pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know he had a little brother.
He has, I think there's 3 brothers. There's Max McCaffrey, who played at Duke, and played for the Jaguars first like half a season. And Luke McCaffrey started off at Nebraska, and then he transferred to Rice. He was actually a quarterback at Nebraska.
I loved his father as a Giant, and then his uncle played basketball at Duke and then transferred to Vanderbilt. He was a really good basketball player.
His dad played for the Broncos, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Giants back in the old days. And when he first came on. And then the younger brother was a good basketball player at
All
Duke.
right. Let's move over to one more bowl game pick. We have Kansas. They are playing UNLV, I believe.
Kansas UNLV. I think this is another game there's going to be plenty of offense. We have Jason Bean projected for 31 rush yards. He hit 90, I think, on like 4 carries in his last game. He's playing against much worse defense this game too. So 23.5. I think he's a 6-year senior. Hopefully he goes out on top.
We love to see that.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's been around long enough, and after watching Taylon Green against UNLV in the Mountain West Championship, there's a lot of holes in that UNLV defense. But that UNLV offense is pretty fun to watch. If you like anyone on UNLV on offense, don't mind playing any of their props as well.
Good to know there. This seems like a little player or a prize picks entry for me to cook up.
Yeah, exactly. There's also, it's interesting because Kansas doesn't have any of their running back lines out. So with like Devin Neal, who's really good, and Daniel Highshaw, there's no lines out for them. So Vegas might know something that we don't. Maybe one of those players gets scratched, and we'll have probably Jason Bean 35, 40 yards in the model if one of those two gets scratched, because he'll take some of their carries up as well.
All right, good stuff there. I saw a question about if we like KCP's. I'm just trying to look for it right now. If we like KCP's point projection, if you can't get his PRA.
Yeah, points, probably.
Yeah, if we like the PRA, it's usually a pretty good lean on the points.
Mm-hmm.
We have him at 10.7 points. It's in line 10.5, 9.5.
Yeah,
8.5 was it?
Looks like Derek got to that. He got to it in the chat.
Okay,
He's working too fast.
I played Cam Reddish under 8.5 points. I think we have him at 7.6 in the model. He's one of the only players I like to fade just because of a sour taste of him when he was on next.
I have such a hard time with unders.
Life's too short to get under. That's the Barstool philosophy.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's all the questions I see. But if you have any other questions before kickoff, we'll be on Twitter, making sure we can answer them as soon as we can. I think that's all we have today. Those coming in here on Christmas, appreciate that a lot. If you could hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Nothing like sweating out some bets on Christmas. I'm sure everyone's parents are happy with them, just like mine. Actually, my dad likes it. He thinks it's fun. All right. With that said, good luck with your bets today. I'll be putting out my 25 days of bets. Final bet today. Got to figure out what that one's going to be. I might go Gus Edwards here. I like that played a lot. Might head to the NBA, but we'll see. All right. With that said, Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a great holiday, and we will see you guys Thursday.